wanted to talk to you about the divine plan as it has been shared with me. And I hope that in doing this, you will find the same level of hope and peace that I have found just knowing this information directly from Source, Spirit, God, Allah, Buddha, Shiva, whoever you align with, the universe. The divine plan. Ready? Source, help me with this, please. I'm going to start with I am the light, the fire, the blood, and the echo of the Lion and the Lamb of Nazarene. And this is the divine plan as it's been shared with me thus far. There are a lot of details that I don't know yet, but there are a great many that I do know. And Source has been quite specific that now is the time that I share this with those who find my video and those I speak to in life. Here goes my leap of faith, the biggest yet, with you and with Source. Yeshuay, or NC, you can call me either one. And Yeshuay is a name given to me by Source Spirit. And I can't prove this to you at this time. I could just ask you to check in with yourself, to check in with Source about the things that I'm going to share with you. And if you have questions, please ask me. Source, neither Source nor I have any problems with questions. Questions are a beautiful thing. It's how we learn. I'm here to tell you about the divine plan, at least as much as I understand up to this point. I am divine leader that you've been waiting for. And if that's a surprise to you, I would like you to know that it was that much or more of a surprise to me. I knew it in the back of my mind, in my heart, in my soul, my whole life. I'll go through some of the experiences that have happened to me throughout my life and recently, even where I tell you that I saw my divine self as I was dreaming, and I woke up saying, I saw my divine self. I don't want to spoil it, but it was really powerful. It took me a while to get here, to this particular place, and I would like to apologize to you for that. If you can send a little grace my way, I needed to fully align with this. I needed to make peace. Yeah, I needed to make peace with this and spend a lot of time asking Source and looking over my shoulder. Me? Are you sure? Like, I think you have the wrong person. Kind of, not, okay, to be clear, not in any way because I doubted my divine anointed path or Source in any way, or myself. None of these things were true. Just like any of you with your divine calling, I'm sure that you have been, like, some of it's felt, if not all of it's felt really, really big, and you're like, You needed time to settle in with it, to make sure that you weren't mistaking your calling. So I hope this makes sense to you. And I do want to apologize for it taking me, this all is in divine timing. But some of you, who I've been watching, by the way, not in person like a creepy way, but online, some of you are doing different things online, and I've been guided to watch your videos. And some of you have seen me and spoken about me in your readings. And I cried during those. If Source will permit me as we get through the editing process, some of you are apostles and light workers and chosen and 144,000 and the beautiful, amazing, still somewhat asleep collective. All roles are important, and there is no hierarchy in heaven, nor will there be any here. Please keep that in mind. I mean, if there is any hierarchy, it is Source, Yeshua, the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, and the spirit guides, and everyone else. But really, there is no hierarchy in heaven. Source is Source, and everybody else is everybody else. It's just true. Again, I urge you to search your soul, to spend some time listening. And by listening, I mean meditation. Meditation is just listening. You don't have to light certain candles. You don't have to say mantras. You don't have to listen to a special meditation. In fact, in order to hear your divine self and source, those things are counterintuitive to hearing your divine self and the divine realm and source. You need to sit in silence. Keep your eyes open. No phone, no TV, no music, just silence and a notebook and a pen, and write down everything that comes to you. No matter what, just write it down. And as you're writing, if you need things to slow down, you can say, can we slow this down just a bit so you can catch up on the writing? But you can lead with a question. You can lead with just silence, and you can ask what you're calling. You can ask and do and start this in any way that you want. Your listening sessions. And again, I urge you to check in with Source and your higher self, the universe, if you are not comfortable with Source and your higher self, on what I say and who I am. I do, sincerely. Okay. We have a lot to get to and through. So I just want to say, I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad that you found this message. I'm really glad and grateful that I'm not quite sure how to tell you that it took me, I want to say probably almost a year to start this channel, because I never saw myself. I think that YouTubers are amazing. I just never saw myself as someone that would do that. Especially in my current health predicament, where Source has shut me down to the point where I was within four walls for over 10 years. I've been celibate for 12, and that is crazy to say out loud. Like, it sometimes I'm like, whoa, it really hits me. That won't be forever, and that wasn't a requirement. It was just the product of some things that happened in my life and being in a health challenge. So I got a CSF leak and a back surgery, and that led to, it's been over 10 years now of being all but completely bedridden. I can still get up and do some things, but it's carefully planned, and I will suffer for it, but I do need to live my life. And I wasn't doing a great job of, I think, hearing Source in the way Source needed me to hear them. And so they really slowed me down and accelerated my awakening tenfold. The last 5 years have been particularly intense, but it's all been moving at a steady progression. So I think I did my first video a year ago. That's wild to me. It feels like it was only yesterday. But again, I do apologize that it's taken me so long, and but I'm here now. And we are in Christ consciousness, the beginning stages. Something else I want to say before we get into the divine plan. I want you to know, if you don't already, that the end times are only the beginning. It's the true beginning of the golden age, Christ consciousness, heaven on earth. It is when shadow shift segregation, when the divine shifts happen. One is the divine shift, and one is the shadow shift segregation. And shadow shift segregation is a place, briefly, where those humans being souls and shadowed non-soul beings will be segregated from the majority of us humans being souls on planet or Mother Earth, who are in the divine shift, in the divine reawakening, in the beginning stages of Christ consciousness, moving to heaven on earth, on new earth, which is on earth. It allows both collectives, it's a win-win solution for both collectives to live out their free will choices and follow them to their natural conclusion without this very volatile collective harming the divine collective. And please understand that this is a place where they have an opportunity to learn their divine lessons, to align with their divine higher self and source spirit if they choose to. Many will not choose that. And when they do, they are free to ask Source to rejoin the fathom of the divine collective. And if Source deems it so, then they will rejoin the fathom of the divine collective. So that is really a beautiful gift and a very thoughtful and thought out win-win solution. Or your intent and your actions matter. So those who fall in between, who may be operating out of their deeply shadowed, they may even be aligned with the deeply shadowed, but for those who kind of fit somewhere in the middle, those who have been hurt and scared and in survival mode their whole life, and it doesn't have to be traumatized. It kind of sums up how they might be feeling. They've been in survival mode, never had the opportunity to truly heal themselves, much less align with their divine higher self. Well, some of them do. Some of them do lead really good lives, and they're making the world a better place, and they are aligned, even if they never know these terms. If it's because they've never had the opportunity to heal, if it is from a survival place, Source will know, and they will not go to shadow shift segregation. They will receive the most incredible, loving, divine, beautiful healing, and they will remain with those of us in the divine shift. And I could think of no better example than these things, in addition to every other, that proves that Source loves their children. Free will, giving us the power of free will, and free will is power. Something that we've let other people dictate. And so all the groaning and the chaos and the war talks. These are the powers that were groaning because they know that there is nothing they can do to stop the divine shift, the divine reawakening, heaven on earth, Christ consciousness. They know they're the powers that were. And they're going to do everything in their power to try to reclaw back that control, of which they will not be able to do. In shadow shift, of course. But not here, not with us. And it is my wish that it would be true for everyone, but they are not able to do that to anyone. I have cried many times thinking about those souls who will enter shadow shift segregation, not because it's hell, because it isn't, just because I want them to thrive as much as we are. I want them to know the joy sources, love, the peace, the warmth of sources, embrace their compassion, their divine truth, their love, their forgiveness, their guidance, their thriving and leading their very best lives. This is what I wish we were all experiencing. This is why it's upset me. I'm going to tell you just the tiniest bit about me, because I think it might be helpful. Yeshuay, or NC, you can call me either one. Yeshuay is a name given to me by Source Spirit, along with 1010, which I had referenced in a previous video. And before I get to the divine plan, Source mentioned that it might be helpful if I tell you a little bit about my most recent experiences and my awakening and coming to understand and come to terms with my anointed divine path. And it's a big one. Well, it's big for all of us, but I guess a brief history would be, there was a lot of trauma in my life, and either because of that or for different reasons, I would remember like 5 to 10 dreams a night, and I had recurring nightmares, so much so that I taught myself, or so I believe, taught myself how to lucid dream, and I was able to wake myself up and or alter the dream if I was interested and wanted to see where things were going. And since my full, or it's still unfolding, since a huge moment in my awakening, I have really stopped having or being aware of those dreams, with the exception of some really cool things. So I only remember them when they're prophetic, when they have meaning, and that's pretty special also. I've had dreams. I'm one of those people that I talk in my sleep, and it's been kind of a running joke throughout my life with those in my life. But I'll even have like full conversations with you to an extent. They're mostly lucid. I don't remember doing that portion usually, but I'll answer questions, etc. in my sleep. So one thing that's happened, well, the biggest thing that's happened recently was I had a dream that was confirming something I already knew, which was, well, basically that us being so distracted is turning us into what we are not. We're being distracted from who we really are. And we know this already. We're being enslaved and trapped and distracted from aligning, grounding, knowing who we are, that we're a divine being, having a human experience. And so I had this dream, and it was about that, and it was a whole lot. Maybe I'll go further into that dream. But at the end of it, it was scary. It actually was a bit of a scary dream. Right at the end of it, I saw my light body. As in, I was looking at my light body. I saw my divine higher self. And I woke up saying, I saw my divine self. I saw my divine higher self as if I was telling, myself. And whoever, no one else was in the room. My cat. And it stuck with me like all day. It was indescribable. It was beautiful, powerful, obviously. And another one of the really interesting dreams I had, and I'll promise that I will get to the divine plan, is that I often fall asleep, and as I'm falling asleep, I hear myself beginning conversations that I left off with Source and my guides. And usually we meet in a glen, um, a forest glen, in a stone circle. And we just pick up. As soon as I fall asleep, right at that moment, I begin talking and leaving off. Like I start speaking exactly where we left off. And sometimes I'll fall asleep and I'm laughing at things that they said. And then unfortunately, I don't have full memory of those conversations. I think we'll get to that place, but they just want me to know, yeah, that is happening as you believe it is. And that's beautiful. And another of the dreams I had, I was astral traveling. Again, I know that I am, but there was that, I guess, that little bit of niggling doubt. Am I kind of, thing going on? And so I had astral traveled to another planet. And then as I was returning, this is where I became aware of things from my human self. And I was stepping into a light vehicle, a Merkaba. And if you remember that scene in Interstellar I think they were 5D, don't quote me on that, with all the colorful lines, that representation, this is how that looked. And there was a headset, and I drew a crude drawing. I may insert it somewhere here. That you put on this headset inside this vehicle, and I had to flip through in order to pick the exact right time and timeline of which I should return. And I thought, again, that's also a really powerful message, that they're allowing me to see this and to be aware of it. How cool is that? Okay, moving away from the dream space, if you'll bear with me, I've had lots of visions in my dreams and visitations. I said I would move on, and I just had this one thing pop into my head. I've also I had sleep paralysis for so long in my life. If you've ever experienced that in any level, you know how scary that is. And one particular time, I looked over, and there was a man, and I could describe him perfectly. He was wearing all black with a black jean jacket and had a black like ski cap on, not just on the top of his head. And he was sitting really close to me and just smiling. I've had prophetic dreams about the USS Stark going down well before this happened the day I had that dream, the night before the USS Stark had its incident. And that was really wild. That was really powerful, and it scared me. And in fact, it was then just a little bit after that, in one other big dream, where I said to Source, I really need to pause that part of my life because it's a lot. And so for the most part, that happened. But the second dream was I dreamt about planes hitting our, I'm not sure at the time I could identify them as the Twin Towers, but I knew it was in New York. And I saw the planes hit, and I knew that it was a huge incident. And then I saw the U.S. divide and move into a warlike mentality, not that we were at war. And in fact, I was 19 at the time and wrote out a complete outline for a book because it felt like that's what I was being guided to do. Unfortunately, I had some other traumas come up in my life, or maybe it was fortunate, and somewhere that outline is sitting. But that was also like at the point where it was like, that is, at the time, that seemed so far fetched, to be fair, that although it was traumatic and I knew it was prophetic, because when they are, they're really vivid. And I mean, really vivid. And this is one of the ways that I identify them as being prophetic. And it was at that time that I just said, I need to put the brakes on this for now. And again, for the most part, that is what happened. Okay, we're going to move beyond the dreams for now, but I wanted to tell you about something that I had been telling stories about as long as I've been telling stories about the experiences in my life. And I can't believe, I can actually, that it took me, well, I'm not going to tell you my age. This experience happened when I was between 3 and 4. And it's very powerful. And I've been telling this story that was very material world viewed. That these 2 boys must have been picking on me. Also, this was part of the framework of my life with all the trauma, etc. So, my mother was a very young parent, and all I'm going to say is that it showed she wasn't very nurturing. A lot of challenges in that regard. But I'll say, for whatever reason, she left me sitting out front of our apartment building when I was between 3 and 4 years old, with my little suitcase, waiting for my grandmother, one of them, to pick me up. She was not with me. And the way that the apartments were structured, and the actual entrances to the apartments were inside this hallway. There was a door that went in the hallway. The front doors were inside the building. I guess that's an easier way to say it. And there was a glass door as you entered into that area to enter your apartment from. And so she had no eyes on me whatsoever. And I was sitting there so eagerly anticipating my grandma coming to pick me up, who was just, both my grandmothers were my anchors. They were beyond amazing women. And I was their first grandbaby. So that was pretty special. And so here I am with my little tiny suitcase waiting on my grandma. And I'm just sitting there and kind of, I don't know, doing whatever. I have such a vivid memory of this. I'm just waiting and I'm excited. And I feel this, like, it wasn't windy at all. And I feel this, like, whoosh. And then all of a sudden, there were 2 adolescent boys standing next to me. Well, they were more like, they were teenagers, but they had really young baby faces and really beautiful humans. And I looked up at them and they looked down at me and they smiled. And one of them had a horn. And you might be able to tell where this is going, but I can tell you that I was a bit frustrated with myself that it took me this long to figure this out. The one with the horn tapped me on the head and bent down, and I was sitting on the little step right before the door to the apartments, the main entry to the apartments. And there was a little patch of dirt to the left of me. It had a little bit of grass, but kids play with it and sometimes, so it was that loose dirt. And he bent down with his horn and he marked the ground and left a symbol. And he looked at me, and the other one smiled really brightly, and he said, "This is when you'll know it's time." And I can't swear to this, but I'm pretty sure they said, this is when they'll come. I can't promise you and swear to that last bit, but this is how I remember it. The first bit, definitely, absolutely, this is when you'll know it's time. And I've drawn, excuse me, I've drawn a few symbols that I, for whatever reason, the exact symbol hasn't quite come to me, and I'm going to assume that's for a divine purpose. But I've narrowed it down to a few. And I may or may not put that somewhere here just so you can see what it was. And in the last couple of years, my awakening has been accelerated extremely, in a good way. And one day it came to me all in a rush. That was Archangel Gabriel and Raphael. And it made sense. Now, a little about me. I almost died when I was two. To be fair, that happened a lot in my life. Largely because I just had a single parent who was young and was not interested in being a parent and blamed me for being inconvenient in her life and made me responsible for raising my sister. But and a lot of bad things happen. But there's a lot of food insecurity, etc. But at this time, I'm not going to bore you with that. Okay, I was frustrated that it took me so long to put those pieces together, but again, I know it was for a divine purpose. So hang on. Okay, that's a bit of story time before we get into the divine reawakening, which is I know what you want to hear. There's a reason I'm telling you about me, so I hope you'll bear with me. Oh wow, it just hit me. It's been just over 2 years since one of my very best friends died. I was with her as she took her last breath. She had stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma. You don't really need to know that fact, but she was a beautiful soul, and she and I lived very parallel lives in how we grew up, etc. And I had been bedridden for almost completely for 10 years from a spinal fluid leak. Still am, actually. I know sources. There's a reason, and this will be sealed soon. I know it, but it was part of my awakening. Get me to be quiet to hear. I guess that was a small way to say, so my best friend and I understood each other. She was isolated, I was isolated. I'd go over, spend all day and all night with her. We'd lay in bed talking, and because I needed to be flat, she needed to rest. So her husband would get kicked out of the room. Not that he minded, he's my friend too. But one night, her daughter, who started playing the singing bowls, was doing a healing session for both of us with another of her friends with one of the gongs. Symbol was huge. It was a gong. And it was so loud. And I'm so sensitive to noise. With CSUP leak, feels like having meningitis. Every day, headache, stiff neck, nausea. It's worse when I'm upright or if I try to read, which is, that's torturous. Moving on. And it's pretty painful. So it was kind of a miraculous occurrence that all of this percussion and noise did not bother me. And in fact, my friend, who was doing pretty well at this point, all things considered, I was laying on the left seat, she was laying on the couch. We both fell into a meditative state and thought we went to sleep. And actually, I had a vision of a singular, a beautiful violet flame. And it was like dark all around, and all I could see was this violet flame, almost white, colorful. I don't know, it's just violet and really light, but definitely violet. And I told the girls that my experience, and they were kind of surprised, but we had bigger things to do and to talk about and such. So, we all got on with our day, and my friend and I went on to have a really great night's sleep and get up and chat like crazy. You'd be surprised at the amount of subjects that we could discuss in great detail in 10 minutes. Her husband would chime in every now and then as we were reminiscing about things we'd all done and be like, no, it was like this, which actually he was just sharing his point of view, but still it was fun and funny. And excuse me, only later did I realize the significance of that violet flame appearing to me. And that night, as the girls stepped outside to do something, my friend's daughter and her friend, I actually summoned and sent healing energy to my friend. I didn't lay hands on her. It was pure instinct, pure instinct. And I was scared afterwards that maybe I'd done harm, but I didn't. She did well for a good bit of time. Like most cancer patients, it's all you. Even though you always think they're going to beat the odds, and it was still it was unexpected. When she passed, we thought we had so much more time. We being her loved ones. In an earlier part of my awakening, I also was watching someone who's an amazing reader. And there's nothing wrong with people who read tarot cards. Please don't think that there is. They are as divine as you or I. This particular one was, her name is Amanda, and she's with Connective Conduit, the Connective Conduit. And she had mentioned something about animal spirit guides. And I'm sorry, y'all, I have allergies, and apparently that's going to be a thing throughout this talk. So bear with me, I'll try to make it quiet. She had mentioned animal spirit guides and mentioned a few, and I was like, maybe. And so I decided that I would do a quick meditation. I'd already been meditating for some time. By the way, if you haven't seen my other videos, meditation is just listening to source. You don't need any candles or, bracelets. You don't need any candles or bracelets or mantras. You can have them if you want them. You don't need any special practices. You don't even have to close your eyes. In fact, that would be difficult if you did what I'm going to suggest. But all you need is silence, to sit somewhere without distraction, no phone, no music, no TV, no distractions. Have a notebook and a pen handy and sit for 5 minutes. Longer if it takes that long. You can ask a question as you're going into meditation, or you can just sit in silence and wait to hear what's shared with you. Write everything down. Do it in shorthand if you like, and as you continue to do that with ideally the grounding, centering, aligning practices, which take about 10 minutes a day as well. As you're writing and as you continue to do this practice, it will become abundantly clear to you what is your intuitive voice and what is source's or the angelic realm or your higher self's voice intuitively. And this is a beautiful gift, and I hope that you will practice it. So I have been doing this for quite some time, not consistently at first, but enough that I saw the benefits. And so meditation, don't make it intimidating. It's just listening. And speaking to Source is what Source wants most of all. Tell them your concerns, what you'd like an answer to, what's weighing on you. If you want to know your calling, ask and you'll receive an answer. Again, it might take you a few times to be able to differentiate what's your voice and what is not your voice, what's a divine voice, but you will understand which is which. And that's a beautiful gift. And when the answers are something that you wouldn't think of yourself necessarily, or an idea, you're like, why didn't I see that before? That's the divine speaking to you. Okay, so we'll move on past that. Thank you for listening and indulging me. So, I asked to see my spirit guides. It was a very simple question. I asked my spirit guides to show themselves to me. And for this one, I closed my eyes and I waited. Now, I also had a pretty incredible headache. I have a headache all the time and have had one all the time for 10 years. That's the bedridden part with spinal fluid leaks. The more you're upright, the worse the leak becomes. But I can be flat all day and it'll still get worse. So I think this was just part of my journey so that Source could get me to slow down and reawaken and then share his messages with you all. So I'm laying there and I closed my eyes and I kind of started to drift off, but then I caught myself. And at that moment, my first guide appeared, my first spirit guide appeared. And it scared me, not from oh my God, that's so scary, but from, I was so concerned for it. I was standing at this lagoon, and it was a lagoon that I had seen my best friend who had passed. She loved to swim. And because of her circumstances, close to the end of her life, baths and swimming just wasn't an option for her anymore. And she really missed that. And so I saw her in this same lagoon after she passed. And that was beautiful. I did ask her, by the way, slight segue. I did ask her, I said, I'm gonna tell you some signs that I'd like to see. Some of them I'm gonna mention and some of them I'm not. And every one of them she sent me. And I asked for some, like, you wouldn't be able to, like, it was just that. Like, some of them were so specific, and I didn't mention those to her. So her showing me her in this lagoon, swimming happily, this was a beautiful gift to me. And it was a gift to her too. And so I was in this same lagoon, which I recognized right away. And there was this little area in the lagoon that was like its own little, there was a rock partition inside the water. And inside that, there was this little tiny creature jumping in and out of the water, swimming. Like, he was so fast and so playful and flipping out of the water and running up on the rocks and jumping back in. And I was trying to protect him and catch him because I was so worried that something was going to eat him. And he slowed down enough for me to see him clearly. And it was a miniature swimming goat. And so that was my first animal spirit guide. And the next I moved to, it was like the same area of the lagoon, but in a different part of this place. And it was a grassy dirt kind of field. And I looked over and there was a lion laying majestically looking at me. And again, at first that was scary. And then swiftly I moved into the next animal spirit guide. And this one was in a completely different location. It was in a really big house or place that had this gigantic grand staircase. I mean, I'm talking Versailles wide, like so wide it doesn't need to be that wide. And it had a banister running down the center. And it was very dark, like almost no light, but enough that you could still see. And I was coming down the stairs, and what was coming up the stairs towards me looking for me, as I knew at the time, was a white buffalo. I had no idea at the time that that was significant in any way. I didn't know the significance of that, but I was so touched when I looked up each one of these guides. But the white buffalo, in and of itself, was incredibly special. And I'll tell you, the part of my dream, I think it's kind of funny, and it is fitting to how my awakening went and how Source slowed me down to get me to wake up fully. I was at the top of the stairs, and the white buffalo was coming up towards me. And although there was all this room on this gigantically wide staircase, somehow it seemed to narrow into just me and the buffalo. And I wanted to sneak by the buffalo. I thought if I just got close enough to the floor or to the wall, I could just shimmy past and we'd be cool. They'd go on their way, I'd go on mine. But no. The buffalo had other plans. And right as I was trying to sneak by, she turned and kind of nudged me with her head, and I was on the ground, and she sat on me. Not to hurt me, to get me to stop and to pay attention. But it was really scary. And then, of course, to emphasize that feeling of her sitting on me, I woke up to my giant cat sitting on my chest. And so that was funny, but that really speaks volumes about how we got here, with how Source woke me up and what steps they took to make sure I woke at the right time. I've been manifesting and having prophetic dreams and having really special experiences. I had an out-of-body experience. It was brief. I was like 16, and it was the weirdest thing and so quick, but I had been working a really long shift managing restaurants. I was 16, and I came into the living room, and the couch, the arm on the couch was unusually large and wide and tall. It's the only way I can describe it. So it was weird how this happened. And I was standing by the arm of the couch here. And all I remember is I was so tired. Like I was tired coming in, but I was so tired that very weirdly, I did not move around that couch. I fell forward onto the couch. It was very gentle, and ended up completely, like, my feet were not, as you would think, as you fall forward, my feet, would be dangling off the arm of the chair or the arm of the couch, but they were not. I was laying flat, and my feet were, it was wild. I can't explain that to you. It was a very swift one movement, and the next thing I knew, I sank into the couch, and then I was above my body. And I looked around from the very top of the ceiling of the living room, and I thought, this is so freaking weird. What? And then I looked at myself, exhausted and falling into the couch, not falling, like I wasn't sinking more than you would just laying on it, but like I melted into it, from a human point of view. And it terrified me. And at that second, I was like, oh no. And like that, I was back in my body. I think that was also these really exceptional experiences and knowing, even when it would make even no sense to me, or I would say things to help someone else and think about it later, and I would think, wow, that was remarkably profound, and kind of like, I'm not sure that was me saying those things, these kind of experiences, but like back to making decisions, even when everybody, including my very neglectful, angry mother, would insist I do things one way on occasion. If it, something were making her not look the way she wanted to be perceived, etc. I had very innate gut feelings. I knew what was right and what was wrong, not only in the world, but for me. And yes, I'd had a lot of really negative life experiences, lots of trauma as a child and as an adult. So this is all true. I have had that. And I do have experience to draw from. But it wasn't always me. It was the divine working through me even before I was completely awake. And honestly, I think if I had not shut down my prophetic dreams, when I did, ask for them to be shut down, my awakening would have been much earlier in my life. But Source has perfect timing. And so this happened for a reason, as did my spinal fluid leak. Not unlike the buffalo, it was a way for them to get me to stop, do the work, awaken in the time frame that they needed me to awaken to do Source's work. And here I am, taking this leap of faith with you and with Source. I can't make you believe me on that. I could ask you to check in with Source and meditation about it. I can ask you to check your gut feelings. But I can't make you believe me. It just, on that. And that's okay. And if you don't, that's okay. But this is what happened to me. And it was really powerful. Like I said, so let's talk about the divine plan. Thanks for indulging me. I feel like it's important that you have an opportunity to get to know me a little bit on a personal level, and that is we're just scratching the surface. But these are some profound experiences that I think will be really relatable to you. And if I can, for one brief second, do what I did if you want to know who your animal spirit guides are. Do it. It's very simple. And please practice the grounding, the lining, the centering. Get outside, be in the sun for a bit. Limit your media. Toxic social media. Not all social media is toxic, but limit the toxic, limit the news, because that is intentionally draining your energy and lowering your vibration. Okay, try to limit to 10 minutes a day. I am going to tell you about the divine plan, but first I need to go get my cat who wants to come join me. Okay, my cat is here. There he is. Come here, baby. And let's talk about the divine plan. You want to come here? There he is. Yeah. He's a good boy. This little guy honestly, he came into my life right around the time, it'd been a few years, into my CSF leaks and being so isolated. I've literally been staring at 4 walls for the most part of the last 10 years and a lot of pain. Don't get me wrong, I do have fun. I get out here and there and I see physicians and such, but I spent a lot of quality time with Source, the Divine, and this little guy who really being has really helped me get through this. He has been, he's part of my family, you know. It's a very sweet soul, very cuddly, very protective. He's the kind of cat that if someone knocks at the door, he growls. And I've taught him to sit and do a spin and stand up on his hind legs. He likes to run and jump and grab the chains for the ceiling fan and the light. So when he's in the mood, when he's been particularly in the catnip, he will run across the bed and jump up and grab and pull and turn the light on and off for quite a few times. And the kind of doors that are in the place that I'm at now have the lever handles, so he's working on learning how to open doors. He was most assuredly a human in another life, no question. But moving on, the divine plan. Ready? Source, help me with this, please. I'm going to start with, I am the light, the fire, the blood, and the echo of the Lion and the Lamb of Nazarene. And this is the divine plan as it's been shared with me thus far. There are a lot of details that I don't know yet, but there are a great many that I do know. And Source has been quite specific that now is the time that I share this with those who find my video and those I speak to in life. And I adore being out in the world. I adore people. I adore animals and plants and Mother Nature, Mother Earth. But I am someone that I make new friends all the time when I'm out, and that is a gift, I believe. Let's talk about the divine plan, finally. In the divine shift, in the divine reawakening, in the aftermath of shadow shift segregation, and please note this will not be a human created segregation, this will be a Source move. I've been shown that it might be, we know parallel worlds exist, and it could be a parallel world situation. To my understanding, no one will be harmed. That isn't Source's way. But that's all I know about that so far. What's going to happen, and in the exact way, Source has not told me at this time, except that my understandings thus far is that there are two shifts. There's the divine shift and the divine reawakening, and there is a divine shadow shift segregation. And those who they will have an opportunity to make different choices as they're made aware of the shadow shift segregation, and to realign themselves. And to not be aligned with the shadow, to not let greed and power and harming others be their focus in life. They'll have a choice. They've always had a choice. We have free will. And what will happen, think of parallel worlds. Those who are aligned with the deeply shadowed the enemy, the humans being souls and shadowed non-soul beings, will be segregated from those of us in the divine shift, the divine reawakening in Christ consciousness, moving towards heaven on earth. As we're further into Christ consciousness, the biggest message is that we will all, every last one of us, be thriving. We will have everything, and I do mean everything, that we need to live well in modern day times. because that is our birthright. And this was always the intention. It is a trick and a lie of shadow that we need to pay to live on planet or Mother Earth. So we will all be thriving, and we will all have the free time to follow what lights us up inside. We'll all be aligned, or we'll be living in that framework where we're living from a greater good perspective. We are doing what lights us up inside, yes, but we are also accepting. We have equality, diversity, inclusivity, freedom of speech, bodily autonomy, liberty, power of the people, meaning, well, I'll explain that more in a minute. Basically, it is greater good living, totally taking care of yourself and your loved ones, but doing no harm intentionally, lifting others up. And when we're all thriving and we're all doing what lights us up inside, but we're following what we're curious about, following those divine, intuitive, beautiful nudges, this is where the golden age occurs. So there will be, it's a big subject to cover, and I only understand a small fraction of it thus far. There will be no money systems, no economic system whatsoever, no trade systems. We're not doing that. We see how that went, and it did not go well for anyone but the select few. We are not doing governments. There will be an infrastructure, and I mentioned this a little bit later. We'll have honorable community service members who will help me and Source and others to rebuild and create new earth systems in such a way that they are good for all humans, beings, souls, and planet or Mother Earth. We're no longer going to recklessly destroy the planet that we presently call home, nor one another. I'll say this a little bit later in the video, but I just want you to take a minute and think about, really think about what it is that you're going to do. Many of you already have calling, so this will be in addition to that. How your life is going to change and what you want to do with all of the free time that you will have when we are not enslaved, entrapped, and distracted and exhausted by the deeply shadowed systems, measures of control. When you're thriving and have everything you need to thrive, include, we'll use renewable energy, cold fusion, biofuels, things that are good for all of us, humans, beings, souls, planet, or Mother Earth, because we're not looking to put profits over people or humans, beings, souls, planet, or Mother Earth. We're not looking to pinch pennies and squeeze a profit out of things. We're doing the right thing. We're solving problems. We're not blaming and complaining. So back to what I was saying, you'll have a vehicle to drive, and it will be responsibly powered and fueled. And this only benefits every one of us. So I want you to think about just that little bit I've told you. You're going to have your own home. You're going to have a vehicle. You're going to have everything you need to thrive. And you're going to have the freedom to do what lights you up inside. So what is it that you're going to do? What are you going to do with that time? You get to spend lots more time with your loved ones, lots more time with yourself, in a positive way, I want you to dream. I want you to start picturing it, because it's important and it helps keep our spirits up while the powers that were are groaning and moaning about at long last being out of power. So there'll be no big pharma. Health will change significantly. I am a bridge between source, heaven, and earth. I am here to help, heal, lead, guide, teach, to help those to build their relationship with their divine higher selves, or just their higher selves, depending on their comfort level, and source in a perfect world, but to thrive and to get comfortable thriving. We're not using excuses for not solving problems. We're just solving them. We're trading with other nations, not trade systems, just trading. We're sharing what we have between nations to help one another. And I don't even know how that will play out as far as nations specifically. Um, think about what you're going to do with this time. So you will have everything that you need, all resources. What would you do? My question to you is, what would you do with your life if money and time were no object? Because that's where we're going. What have you always wanted to do? How relaxed and you're going to be your very best self when you know that you and your partner or you and your family have everything that you need to live well and not to pay for it, because we're not paying for anything anymore. We'll still have movies, we'll still have the internet and social media, because not all of it is toxic, and it is a beautiful platform to crowdsource, to connect, to teach through, to even be entertained by. We just A lot of the same things that we have now will still continue. Restaurants, but it'll be things that people love to do. Imagine, just take a minute and imagine all the beautiful things that you will do with this time and not having to work for your birthright when you're already thriving. And then I want you to stop and think about, when we're not putting profits over people, how much less waste we're going to produce, because advertisers, companies aren't. I lost one of my lights verses that tells you how long I've been talking. So bear with me on the lighting, because we won't be putting profits over people. Think of all the money we're going to, all the, that's old world thinking, all the resources that we're going to be able to save and waste, all the damage to Mother Earth by and damage to our bodies by them trying to pinch pennies out of our food with filler, and out of our animals who are part of our family, out of their food. We live in a place where you get to exercise your free will, live your best life, as does everyone else. And we will know that diversity, inclusivity, equality are cornerstones of a thriving society, and we live by those. And that freedom, bodily autonomy, liberty, freedom of speech, power of the people to decide the rules of their community and the community worldwide. I like to call it a carocracy because we're going to solve problems and help people, but it isn't going to truly be uh, any sort of functioning government as you think of in our current state of affairs. I know Source has wanted me to tell you this now because the powers that were know that this is coming. They know that they are the powers that were. They know they will no longer be able to control us, to determine our free will, to control our time, to create division and chaos and hate and lack. They've told you that you're a sinner, that you were born that way. You're not. Forgive my segues. There is a lot of information coming in all at once. And even as I'm sharing this, there are intuitive hits that are coming in. Back to the shadow. If you want to know who is deeply aligned with the deep shadow, because we are like that. We are a balance of shadow and light. And finding that balance and living from light is the point. But if you want to know who's deeply aligned with the shadow and the greater good, your free will choices and your belief systems are completely your choice. But your free will choices and your belief systems may not impose upon anyone else's choices. So the point of me sharing this with you is to get your heart and your mind dreaming and thinking about and considering how much better and happier and joyous life will be in New Earth, in Christ consciousness. A new earth is on earth. Christ consciousness, again, it's not humans' religious dogma. It's about faith, hope, love, optimism, alignment, thriving, doing what lights you up inside, helping one another, lifting one another up, lifting yourself up, being the best and most enjoyable version of yourself and for your loved ones, for those in your life, building community, building an incredible world with alignment and grounding and centering and a healthy spiritual life and healthy physical life and better food and doing what lights you up inside. What could possibly be better? And yes, we're human, we'll have full range of human emotions, of course. That's part of having this experience. But as we grow and as we collectively and individually, and I want to speak on that too for a second, as we collectively and individually raise our vibration and build Christ consciousness in New Earth, our vibration will increase to the point where those kind of arguments and disagreements won't really happen in the same way. If they do, if you intentionally harm someone, you must make amends, apologize, be respectful, be decent and respectful if not kind. Seek win-win solutions, seek help to solve it if you can't. And if you don't just get along with someone, avoid them. Or always be decent and respectful when you are together in a place. When you find that we are not so bombarded with toxicity and exhaustion and a lack of time to reflect and grow our inner life and our spiritual life, our health, we won't be as triggered. Also, this is just the beginning, and I'm going to tell you how we're going to get there. We're going to get there by each of us taking 15 minutes a day right now, just 15 minutes, and ground, align, pray, say affirmations, speak to source, and then spend 5 minutes with your notebook in silence and just listen. And you can do way longer if you want. It's helpful. The more you do it, the longer you do it. The longer you do it, the more helpful it is for you. And as you're meditating, feel free to verify what I've said to you. There is a divine leader in Christ consciousness. But Christ consciousness is really about all of you. This may take a few videos to get through. It is a lot. There is more than enough on Mother Earth for us all to thrive, and plenty of light for us all to shine. And when some of us shine really brightly, that doesn't take away from anyone else. It only makes the whole place better and brighter. Our birthright, by being born on this planet, is to have everything that we need in modern day times to thrive, and not to pay for it or to work for it. It's our birthright. We've been tricked into this lie that in order to have a place to live, that we must follow certain traditions and expectations, that we must work to earn our birthright, work and be entrapped and distracted and worn out and tired and too exhausted to focus on our spiritual journey and finding our light and reawakening. And that is by design. This was never the plan. We were meant to have everything that we need to thrive on planet or Mother Earth, but have it in such a way that it benefits and does no harm to other humans, beings, souls, and planet or Mother Earth. In other words, we're not trashing Mother Earth in the process, depleting her resources, not giving back. To have the freedom to do what lights us up inside, what makes us excited, happy, joyous, curious about. And when we're all thriving, and this is coming, when money is no longer part of our world system here, and I'll tell you more about that in a second, when we're all thriving, when we're all doing what lights us up inside, this is where the true golden age occurs. This is Christ consciousness. This is heaven on earth. And this is not humans' religious dogma. And we will talk more about that, if not in, and we will talk more about that, if not in this video, in one coming very soon. Source's truth, the divine truth, is not humans' religious dogma. It just isn't. And I'll say that much at this time. And we'll see how far we get in this video. But when we're all thriving and doing what lights us up inside, this is the true Renaissance. This is the golden age. This is heaven on earth, Christ consciousness. No money systems, no economic systems. They aren't necessary. No politics, no government, no authority other than source, spirit, and no intermediaries. No intermediaries between source, spirit, and you, humans, beings, souls, and planet or Mother Earth. There will be no intermediaries. Intermediaries were never the point. The church, largely, broadly speaking, was never meant to be a power or authority structure. That was never the intent. The intent was to help each individual build their own personal relationship with Father, Source, Spirit, God, Allah, and to facilitate that relationship, to help build the community, to be a place to go for help, not just for members of any congregation. And on that note, I just want to segue here again and say there are no right races, there is no right region, and there is no right religion. That's a powerful statement. I recognize that. But Source could not be clearer. Source loves all their children. They love them all so much that they gave each of us free will, which is a very powerful gift, and one that a lot of us we've all but given to the powers that were, because they will be the powers that were soon enough. We've given our free will away to the expectations of others. My point is that our free will is our power, and it's time to take back that power and our alignment If you are an atheist, you still have faith in your life. You have faith in your children, faith in your spouse, faith in your job, maybe, or your girlfriend, your boyfriend. There's faith in your life. You may not identify it with source, but you do have faith. So align with your higher self. Align with the universe. Do the grounding, centering, aligning, meditating, or listening steps to hear, in that case, your divine higher self, the divine realm. This still applies for you. The beautiful thing about Source's love is that you don't have to be aligned with Source to live on New Earth, which is on Earth. It is new systems, the awakening, the divine reawakening. And you don't have to be aligned with Source to live in heaven on earth in Christ consciousness. That's how much Father loves you. And that is incredible. It's a beautiful, truly powerful, beautiful gift. And please don't misunderstand when I say take back your power. It's the power in your life, the power over your life. How you're living, what choices you're making for yourself, how you're showing up in the world, being aligned with your higher self, or your higher self and Father, Source, Spirit, the divine, the Almighty, the Most High. It's freedom, it's free will, being your best self, showing up in your world as your best self, and lifting others up. It is, let's go back, it is no money systems, no politics, no economic systems, no politics, no putting profits over people. That's huge in and of itself. No pain, working, enslaving, being entrapped and distracted by technology, social media, your job to pay to live on planet or Mother Earth. Whose idea was that? Christ consciousness has begun. My soul tribe is gathering. I ask you to ground, align, center, do 15 minutes a day. Spend 5 minutes listening to your higher self, if no one else. And align to your higher self, if no one else. And see how much good enters your life from this. We're going through the divine shift. We're in the divine reawakening. We're in Christ consciousness. We've begun. Again, you can lead a perfectly healthy life doing what lights you up inside, or just you're happy and you're helping others, as making the world a better place, as you're buying someone a coffee, you're thinking ahead, doing nice things for people. If you're living a decent life and you're lifting others up, and just making the world a better place by being a decent human, you're in the divine reawakening. You're in Christ consciousness. Even if you never align with your higher self and you never align with Source, you still get to be there. You still get to be there. You don't have to follow A, B, C, D according to humans' religious dogma to be welcomed and accepted by Source. That just simply is not true. That is a fallacy of the powers that were to try to control you, to make you think that you needed them so that you could have acceptance by Father. And that is not true. That is corruption at its highest level. Yeshua flipped tables over just this. And I love that about him. I love everything about him, but I love that about him. There have been quite a few tables I've wanted to flip recently, and to be frank, it has taken me some time to make peace with my calling, my anointed path and mantle. And I had to surrender, and there was never a question. This was always the plan. I just kind of had to get over myself and say, yeah, I'll start that YouTube channel, and never in a million years did I think I would do that before my reawakening. But it's what I've been asked to do, and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to heal, lead, guide, and teach humans, beings, souls into Christ consciousness through the shift, through the divine reawakening, in Christ consciousness, in heaven, on earth, on new earth. It is the grace, honor, love, and joy of my life to be able to do this. And again, I don't have all the answers yet. I don't know everything. There's a lot yet to learn and to know and to grow. And we're going to do so much good. I'm going to be a little bold here. There are apostles, chosen, light workers, the 144,000. And if you think you're chosen, if you want to be chosen, something in you is speaking to you, and you are chosen. Spend some time doing these exercises, grounding, aligning, centering, 5 minutes meditating. Hopefully you'll do more, and it will come to you. And your life will exponentially improve. Even if you believe nothing else that I say, these practices will improve your life, and you will get in touch with what it is that you really want out of this life. So I have, I've said a lot, and sometimes I've talked in a bit of circles, and the thing is that I did have to get over myself and be brave enough to put myself out there. I think you'll understand why that would be. And well, I'm here. I've taken that leap of faith. I'm asking you to take it with me. And I trust Source, and I will always take that next step. I will always take that leap of faith. The thing is, and as excited as I have been sharing this with you, some of the reasons I'm talking in circles is because there's been so much that I wanted to share with you. And I have so much coming in as I'm sharing this with you. So I'm sorry if it's a bit all over the place right now. I promise it will get better. I promise. I have so much I want to tell you. So much that I know, and there's so much more to learn, but I have so much to share that I know that can go a little bit circular right now, but I believe in you. And to the apostles and the chosen and the light workers and the 144,000, it's time. I see you. Keep doing your work. Keep shining your light. We all have so much light that is uniquely ours, and gifts that are only ours to share here on this earth. Everyone has something to teach you. Everyone. Let yourself start feeling it. Let yourself start dreaming about all the great things you're going to do, things that light you up inside. Living where you want to live, traveling, going to school, all your free time, things you've always wanted to do, if you wanted to volunteer places or always work with animals, whatever it is. If you are a cashier but you want to be an archaeologist, none of this is impossible, because you will have everything that you need to thrive and the time to do what lights you up inside. And don't worry, Source has assured me everything that needs to get done will get done. We will all contribute in our own way as you are divinely aligned and as you are sharing your light. Thank you, friends. I see you, and I send you so much Source love, light, and blessings, and my love, light, and blessings. Source asked me to take a moment to tell you specifically and remind you that when Yeshua was here, Yeshua did not charge anyone for his miracles, his teachings, his sermons. and neither should you. Being divinely aligned, we do not gatekeep nor profit from the reawakening. Having our brothers and sisters awaken with us on planet or Mother Earth is how we're bringing Christ consciousness to be. Okay. I feel like I have probably said more than enough for one video. As you can tell, I do enjoy speaking to you all. And I can't wait to get to know you. There will be very soon, we're going to set up a group, and not a membership, but a group. It will not cost you anything, clearly, where we can meet. We're going to do group conversations, we'll do a Zoom, we'll do whatever we need to do we're going to change the world together. Okay. I appreciate you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.